Joyce Wambua Osborne is a new author. Welcome to the Uplift Chronicles, Joyce.
Thank you so much for having me here today. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I had a privilege to be with you at your launching event. But ever since then to now, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so I've been pretty busy. The book launch was a lot of marketing and promoting of the book. And I'm very, very grateful for all the 92 people who bought tickets to come to my event. I appreciate you. And I also had some people online who attended from Europe, from Kenya, and just different states. First of all, I want to make sure I mention them and I say thank you. But after the launch, I had to take some time off to rest and to just regain my energy again. So I did a lot of that and a little bit of traveling. So I actually just came back from Japan and Taiwan.
Yeah, I saw those pictures and videos of yours in Japan, and I was gonna say, okay, so your book is titled Seasons of Me. Okay, so now that it's out in the world, I know you already started getting a lot of feedbacks from readers.
Yeah.
What has been the general reaction?
I have received a lot of feedback, and some of them have brought me to tears. People are talking about how relatable this book is. Let me read a few of the feedback. So people sent me a lot of feedback on my phone, and I have a note on my cell phone that's called Seasons of Me feedback. And I saw that the feedback, the reviews from people there. And once in a while, I go and read them, and they make me so appreciative. So I'm just going to read maybe 2 or 3 feedback that I have received. Here is one, the day of the launch. Alice sent me a feedback saying, made it to chapter 7 tonight. Now let me take this inspiration to bed. It was at 3:33 a.m. She got home and she started reading. Then she sent another message, very easy read. And girl, you have lived 9 lives like a cat. Did I say I'm proud of you? She had finished the book the next day. So that is one feedback. And I'm just going to read another one that I receive a lot of feedback too from my male readers. Yeah. They don't post them, but they do send me the feedback. Yeah. And October, I'm going to be highlighting all my, the gentlemen who have read my book and, some of the feedback they've received me. I feel like we need to give them a spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate all the women who have supported me, but it's important for me to highlight the gentlemen who picked up my book and read it too. So here is a feedback from one of the gentlemen. His name is Lex. He said, hello, Jay. I have completed reading your book, Seasons of Me. It was very informative and even brought me to tears. Took me to the days of me losing my parents. Thank you so much for sharing your life, your challenges, and get me up moments with us. Your resilience achievements are amazing. So that was Lex. I have so many in here. I can go on and on and on. Very powerful. I saw some parts of me in your story. I love your vulnerability in those pages. I could not put this book down. Once I started, I was hooked. That's another review. Uncle B said, I'm already reading the introduction. Looks like I'm going to be up all night. So I've gotten a lot of very good feedback from many people who've read the book. The one common thing I can say is they both say it's relatable, especially the women. They say, I've seen myself in so many pages of your book. But I think the one feedback that is always going to stick with me was a phone call from a lady in her 60s. She read my book the same night of the launch. She called me the next day and she said, Jay, I want to thank you for writing my story because there were so many chapters in your book that was so talking about my own story, but you had the courage to write a story and I don't. But I felt like you wrote my story for me.
Nice. And that was actually triggered a question that I had for you. Mm-hmm. All these comments and the lady that you just talked about it, telling back to you, are there particular chapters or passages that feel the most personal or vulnerable to you when you revisit them at this moment?
Yeah, it's still hard to read some of my stories on relationships, especially the younger me. And I look back and I don't even know how I was able to just move through life. There's so many seasons when I look back, I feel like I was just surviving. I was surviving. So reading my stories on relationships, they still make me very vulnerable. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for the growth. That's one. The other thing is when I go back and read about the loss of my dad, that was even reading that story, how I got the news that he had passed, and, just looking back to see the relationship between my mom and my dad, the love they had for each other, my mom's perseverance and love. And it taught me a lot. It taught me like love is a choice and you choose each other every day. You choose each other every day. My dad being sick for 20 years and my mom being the main caregiver, putting everything on hold to care for my dad. And all that came from everything else my dad had done to my mom, taking good care of my mom, being a provider and a protector, loving us, loving my mom, letting us know he loved my mom. So the relationships and, the passing of my dad, I don't know, those are always going to be very vulnerable topics for me to talk about.
Well, sorry to hear about your dad.
Thank you.
It's been some time. I know he was a great man. I had the opportunity to meet him as well.
Yes.
Both your parents, very nice people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So your journey in writing a book, obviously, you might had some influences or some mentors or something that you referenced and kind of motivated you. Is there any favorite book or maybe a favorite author that you might have got some sort of inspiration when writing your book?
Yes. So when it comes to inspiration in writing my book, one, I wanted to be a story in my family tree, not just a name. So this was something I was internally motivated to do. It was a goal of mine. I wanted to leave a legacy to my children and the lineage, children or grandchildren I might never meet. So that came from within. But if you ask if there are any memoirs I read that kind of channeled me to keep writing and keep going, yes, I have read Finding Me by Viola Davis, I think 4 or 5 times. And that book, the resilience she had with her sisters, I was able to relate a little bit, as our stories are very different scenarios, different environment, but she was very resilient and very hardworking. So I always went back to that book, and reading her story motivated me to keep writing mine. Totally different stories, but the resilience is the one thing in common in those two books. Yes, Finding Me by Viola Davis.
Yeah.
And I hope one day I get to meet you, Viola. I love Viola. She's very inspirational. I mean, I listen to her a lot. I follow her, and that's my manifestation. Hopefully one day I get to meet Viola Davis.
Nice. Yeah, that would be a great encounter.
Yes.
Yes. I want to shift back a little bit to your recent travels to Taiwan and Japan. Okay. That must have been a very enriching experience for you.
Yeah.
What actually drew you to those two places?
Yeah. So initially I was going to Japan to take my son to college. Most of my friends do know my son is now attending Temple University, Kyoto campus. So that was the initial reason for me to be in Japan. And while I was in Japan, I just made some connections there. I got to donate my book to my son's college, and donating books has been really very important to me. This is advice I got from Stacey Abrams. I want to say thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to donate my book to Temple University in Kyoto. I sure do hope that the students and even some of the faculty and the teachers get to read it, and hopefully they get something out of it. It's a memoir, it's a journey of learning and unlearning, and it's very relatable. The stories in there are very relatable.
Yes, okay. Yes, I'm very interested. Yeah, very much.
Yeah. Kyoto campus. Thank you. She told me one of the best ways to move forward with your book is to donate it to libraries. And I have kept that as my mission, to donate it to library. I actually donated it here at the Bear Library where we are today.
Yes.
Yeah, I've donated it to Wilmington Library. But again, going back to Japan was to take my son to school, but I took that opportunity to donate my book there. And as fate would have it, the power of connections, networking, and meaningful relationships gave me an opportunity for a speaking engagement in Taiwan. So I am very, very appreciative. All this started as just a conversation with my friend Alice, who introduced me to Mary. Mary introduced me to the brother who lives in Taiwan, because I had mentioned that when I'm in Japan, I want to visit another country. Mary was like, I have a brother in Taiwan. Do you want to go to Taiwan? I said, sure. So when I was talking to Vince in Taiwan, I said, is there a library in Taiwan I can donate my book? Vince said, I don't know, because I've only been here a year, but my friend Brett, who has been here 6 years, might know a library or somewhere you can donate your book. Vince introduced me to Bright. Bright introduced me to Terry. Terry is the lead of a polyglot group, people who speak many languages. And he gave me the opportunity to speak in one of their meetups. We had a discussion on my book, and the members asked really, really good questions. I am very appreciative for that opportunity. Again, the power of connecting, networking, and good relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the power of effective networking.
Effective networking. And let me give a shout out to the young man called Bright. His name is Bright, and that scholar. He's from Tanzania. So both Vince and Bright, they're from Tanzania. But Bright, he's going to do big things. The 4 days I was in Taiwan, this young man used the time we had. He picked my brain, he was asking me questions from parenting, childhood, relationships, career, education. Like, he used the time really wisely, and we had very good conversation. I really appreciated his curious mind, and curiosity, brings growth. So, yeah.
Yeah. So all these experiences with people in Taiwan, in Japan, obviously can contribute to some identity and also creativity. Have you thought about translating this book to readers in Taiwan and Japan? And what do you envision it to look like?
Not just Taiwan and Japan. I want to translate my book first in Swahili.
Yes.
That's my native language. And then from there, I want to expand to other languages. That's still in the works. I'm still doing some research, trying to figure out how to do that. But yes, I can't tell you how the viewers in Japan the perspective they'll see the book. I would have to wait for them to give me feedback so I can know their perspective of the book. But translating the book, yes, I do plan to do that down the road. But not only do I want to do that, I'm also working on an audiobook. So I want to make Seasons of Me an audiobook. I know there's a lot of people who prefer audiobooks than hard paper, and I want to make sure you're covered.
So do you see yourself continuing in a memoir, or are you curious to try a different form, such as fiction, poetry, or maybe something else?
Right now, I'm really focusing on this project. I don't feel like I've maximized it to where it needs to go for me to start thinking of volume 2. And I can tell you, there's a lot of feedback I've gotten, people asking me, when is volume 2 coming? I had someone send me feedback saying, I was upset when the book came to an end. I wanted more. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I had to stop it somewhere. But for now, I want to focus on taking Seasons of Me to the next level. There are things that I feel like if I wrote a volume 2, I would include in it. Like, for example, I just found out this August during my birthday how I was born. I was having a conversation with my mom, and I learned that I was born in the house. My mom gave birth to me by herself in the house. No one was in the house. She cut the umbilical cord with a razor blade, took a string, tied my cord, lifted me up, and started breastfeeding me.
And this is in Kenya,
This
right?
is in Kenya.
Yeah. Okay.
Like these are the things I'm talking about as being a story rather than a name.
Yes.
And this is I was like, Mom, I wish I knew this before I wrote my book. You know?
Confused
I
with
mean,
it.
yeah, I'm like, this is important information I could have put in my book. But just having that conversation with my mom, in the courage she had and the love she had and the determination to bring me into this world by herself in the 70s, cut her own umbilical. Yeah, how do you cut the cord with a razor blade? I was like, Mom, a scissors would have been easy. You know, you just chop, but a razor blade. She said, I wanted you, and I wanted you to come into this world. And then tie it, lift me up, to breastfeeding me as if you just didn't bring a child to this world. That was like, that's information I didn't know that I would have loved to be in the book. So then I asked her, so how did my name come up? Because, you know, my middle name is Mutanu and it means happiness and joy. And she said, oh, I'll tell you that story too. So she said to me, when my dad got home, you know, back then there were no cell phones, there was no like house phone number. So she said, my dad came home with his friend and found my mom had already given birth by herself. And he was so happy that the child was healthy and I didn't need to go to the hospital. So my dad, in the middle of the night, threw a party with his friend. And they were having a good time. They were laughing. They were enjoying that the child is normal. The birth went well. So my dad said, you know what? We're going to call her Mutanu Happiness because everyone is happy today.
Yes. It's always impressive when I hear the stories from our mothers and grandmothers in Africa. There are so many stories that need to be in a book. There's a lot of verbal, translation or history of our stories that actually be put in books. Obviously, Joyce, you are not a stranger in our community. I've participated with you in so many community events.
Yes.
Obviously. So Seasons of Me is very exciting for us here at the Uplift Chronicles to be a part of. And thank you for choosing this platform to be here. But this question always keeps coming when I read this book.
Yes.
That what sort of legacy or what kind of legacy do you hope Seasons of Me leaves both for your readers and then also those who might discover it many years to come?
Yes. Yes. I think resilience is when you read my book and you've read my book, you know, resilience, hard work, leaving a legacy. My main goal for writing this book is to leave a legacy, to be a story in the family tree, not just a name. So my encouragement is everyone to write their story. And I told my mom the same thing. I said, Mom, even if you don't want to publish it, write your story. There's so many things I don't know about you. I don't know about your childhood, your education. You know, there's so many things about my mama that I don't know. So I said, Mama, you know, you should think about writing a book. So the legacy here is writing our stories. Let us be a story. But as reading your book, you see there's a lot of growth. There's really resilience and there's choosing me over and over again. So that's the one thing I want to encourage my audience, people who are going to pick up my book. And those are, you know, like life comes with ups and downs, but we have to keep choosing ourselves every day, rediscovering who we are and being open to learning new things and to growth. And I've also learned, I think when I was younger, I used to maybe, I don't want to say aggressive, but force things. Nowadays, I've learned to just be, you know, just relax, just fall back, you know. If things are not aligning, I leave them alone. I don't fight to fit in. You know, I walk where I fit in. And it's funny because I was driving, you know, to work. Most of you know I'm in accounting and finance, and I was driving in to park my car and this spot was really like tight. And before I would try to slide in there, but I didn't. I said, you know what, Jay, you walk in where you fit in. I left it alone and drove maybe a little bit further and found a spot where I could just fit in. So I've learned to just lean back. And that's the other thing I would love my viewers, to take from the book, alignment, have your purpose. You don't have to fight. Sometimes you just need to surrender and just lean back and everything will be smooth and easy.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I do agree totally with you. Oh, I know you're a kind-hearted person. And you've donated these books to so many people. I'll confess I have mine for free.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you have to make some kind of money also.
Yeah.
So how's sales going for you? Where can people get your book if they want to buy a copy?
Yes. So I've donated, but I'm also getting sales. And my donation is focused on schools, and libraries. So my goal is to eventually, really grow Seasons of Me and do what I love most, mentoring. I have some mentees I mentor. I would love to be able to go to schools, talk about my book, let's discuss it, Q&A, donate the books there, or even to libraries. I do have an event coming up here at the Bear Library, October the 4th, Bear Library, 1 to 3 p.m. We're going to have a book discussion. I'm going to be with other local authors, book discussion, Q&A sections. And
Yeah, I think you did mention that you want to have a quarterly Q&A session, right?
Yes.
That's going to be online or what's the format?
Yeah, so that one is going to be here in person at the Bear Library, but I do plan to have these quarterly discussions, on the book and Q&A. I have a lot of people who message me with questions like, what happened to this person? What is going on? But I encourage them to come to one of these discussions and ask questions. But where can you get my book?
Yes.
seasonsofme.org. And my book is also on Amazon. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have a lot to talk about, but in the sake of time and other commitments, I would want to ask a final question. If someone were meeting you for the first time,
okay,
right? In regards to Seasons of Me, what's one thing that you would hope they would carry with them after turning the last page of the book?
Yes, it's the advice I give to my younger self, and being able to face yourself and the truth. I think the one thing I would want people to do is to pause and look at their patterns. I didn't get to look at my patterns until I was way in my 40s. I didn't even know I had patterns. So how am I going to look at something that I didn't even know I had?
Right.
So I think when you finish reading the book, just pause and ask yourself, do I have any patterns? Are they good patterns? Do I do things because I've been doing it for 15 years? Or am I doing it because it's still serving me? Have I healed any wounds I might have had? Am I healthier now? It's about growth. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. There's still more to come. Yeah, but I'm more aware now, like self-awareness. I'm more aware of who I am. I don't feel like I need to fix people. I don't need to fix what I didn't break.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joyce Wambua Osborne.
Yes.
It was a pleasure having you on the Uplift Chronicles. Definitely Seasons of Me, A Journey of Learning and Unlearning is a recommended book. I have this as a gift for my daughter as well.
Oh,
but I just want to thank you for stopping by here. And I'm praying and hoping that when you have the next chapter in your life, you would do us the pleasure of coming back to the Uplift Chronicles.
Of course. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Uplift Chronicles podcast. Stay connected via social media platforms and our channel. Thanks.